Hey everyone, welcome back to Sleepless Survivors. Tonight, we're exploring something that's kept people awake for centuries, the Haunted Mansion. Not the fun Halloween decoration kind. We're talking about the real deal, the kind of place where people check in and don't check out, where shadows move when they shouldn't, where the past refuses to stay buried. Before we step through those iron gates, take a moment to subscribe if you genuinely enjoy this kind of deep dive into terror. Drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from and what ungodly hour it is for you. It's always wild to see who's brave enough to tune in from around the world. Now, turn off the lights, maybe grab some headphones, and let's walk into the one place you should never enter alone. Congratulations. You've just made the worst decision of your life. You've entered Blackwood Manor. Chapter 1. The Arrival. The Invitation. Let's back up for a moment. How did you end up here? Maybe you're a paranormal investigator, camera equipment strapped across your chest, ready to capture evidence of the afterlife. Maybe you're a journalist, chasing a story about the infamous Blackwood family and their century of tragedies. Maybe you're a skeptic who took a bet. Spend one night in the mansion, prove there's nothing supernatural, collect your money. Or maybe, and this is most likely, you're just someone who ignored every warning sign that screamed, "Stay away." Blackwood Manor sits at the end of a gravel road that winds through dying trees. The locals don't talk about it. When you asked for directions at the gas station, the attendant went pale and suddenly remembered he had inventory to check. The woman at the diner crossed herself and whispered a prayer when you mentioned the name. But you came anyway. The mansion rises from overgrown grounds like a tombstone, Victorian architecture, all Gothic spires and dark windows that look like empty eye sockets. The exterior's a patchwork of decay, crumbling stonework, ivy strangling the walls, roof tiles missing in places that look like wounds. The front gate is wrought iron, twisted into patterns that might be flowers or might be screaming faces, depending on how the light hits them. There's a sign, rusted, barely legible, Blackwood Manor, established 1847, and below it, spray-painted by some local kid with more sense than you, "Turn back." You don't turn back. The gate opens with a shriek of metal on metal that echoes across the grounds. No one's oiled these hinges in decades, maybe longer. As you step through, you feel it immediately. A temperature drop, not gradual, instant, like walking through an invisible wall of ice. The gravel path crunches under your feet as you approach. Every window is dark. Not the darkness of night, but something deeper. The kind of darkness that seems to absorb light rather than simply lack it. Your flashlight beam looks weak against those windows, like trying to illuminate the ocean floor with a birthday candle. The front door is massive, 12 feet tall, solid oak with a brass knocker shaped like a lion's head. The lion's mouth is open in a roar, and for just a second, just a flash, you swear its eyes move to look at you. You're being ridiculous. It's just metal, just a door. You reach for the handle. It's cold. Too cold. Your hand almost sticks to it like touching ice. The door swings inward without resistance, revealing a foyer that smells like dust, mold, and something else. Something organic and wrong. You step inside. The door slams shut behind you. You spin around, heart hammering. Try the handle. It doesn't budge. Locked from the inside, which shouldn't be possible since there's no one else here. Welcome to Blackwood Manor. Population, you, and whatever else lives in these walls. The foyer. The entrance hall is vast, stretching up 3 stories to a ceiling you can barely see in the gloom. A grand staircase dominates the space, splitting into 2 curved wings that lead to the upper floors. The banister is carved mahogany, still beautiful despite the decay, twisted into shapes that look almost organic, like petrified vines or frozen snakes. Your flashlight sweeps across the space, revealing details that make your skin crawl. Portraits line the walls, dozens of them. The Blackwood family through the generations, all staring down at you with identical expressions. Not quite smiling, not quite frowning, just watching. Their eyes follow you as you move. You know it's a trick of the paint the way old portraits are designed, but knowing doesn't help.
There's dust everywhere, thick layers of it covering every surface, coating the furniture that's been left behind. Chairs draped in white sheets that look like ghosts. A grandfather clock that stopped at 3:47. Small tables holding long-dead flowers in crystal vases. But here's the thing that makes your blood run cold. There are footprints in the dust. Fresh footprints, leading from the door where you're standing, across the foyer, and up the stairs. Your footprints. Except you haven't walked there yet. You stand very still, trying to process this. Maybe they're old footprints. Maybe the dust just settled in a weird pattern. Maybe you're already losing your mind and you've only been here 2 minutes. Something creaks upstairs. Not the random settling of an old house. Something rhythmic, deliberate. Footsteps. Someone or something is walking on the second floor. The sound travels across the ceiling above your head, moving from left to right, then stopping directly overhead. You hold your breath and listen. The house listens back. Then the footsteps start again. This time they're coming down the stairs. The staircase. You watch the staircase with your flashlight trained on it, beam shaking slightly because your hand is shaking slightly, because you're not made of stone, and this is objectively terrifying. The footsteps continue, slow and measured, step, creak, getting closer, but there's nothing there. The stairs are empty, just dust and shadow and that terrible creaking that sounds exactly like someone descending toward you. The sound reaches the bottom step, stops. You can feel a presence now, something standing at the base of the stairs 5 feet away from you. The temperature drops another 10 degrees. Your breath comes out in visible clouds. In your flashlight beam, you can see the dust swirling, disturbed by movement, by something passing through it. But there's nothing visible, nothing you can see. The presence moves past you, so close you can feel the displacement of air, can feel something brush against your shoulder. Not quite touch, but close enough to make every hair on your body stand up. And then it's gone. Just gone. You stand there for a long moment, trying to convince yourself you imagined it, trying to come up with rational explanations. Old houses make noise. Air currents cause temperature changes. You're just spooked. But you know what you felt. Something was there. Something walked right past you. The grandfather clock suddenly chimes. Once. Twice. 3 times. You check your watch. It's 11:47 p.m. The clock is wrong. The clock has been stopped for decades. But it's chiming anyway. And with each chime, the portraits on the walls seem to shift. Their expressions change. Their eyes grow wider. Their mouths start to open. On the 7th chime, all the portraits are screaming. On the 8th chime, you run. Chapter 2, The First Floor. The Library. You bolt away from the foyer, taking the first door you see. It leads to a library. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves stuffed with leather-bound volumes, a fireplace with a marble mantel, deep leather chairs that probably cost more than your car. You slam the door behind you and stand there, gasping, trying to catch your breath, trying to convince yourself to turn around and leave. Get out. Break a window if you have to. Just get out. But the windows in here are different. They're not glass. They're boarded up from the outside. Thick planks of wood nailed across them. No light gets in. No way out. Your flashlight is starting to dim. Great. Perfect. You check your phone, no signal, obviously, and the batteries is draining impossibly fast. It was at 87% when you walked in, now it's at 31%. The library is cold, but not as cold as the foyer, almost comfortable by comparison. The books lining the shelves look ancient. First editions, probably. Leather spines embossed with gold lettering. I read some of the titles. Spiritualism and the Modern Mind. Communicating with the Dead. The Blackwood Grimoire. That last one gives me a pause. A grimoire. A book of spells. The Blackwood family apparently had some interesting hobbies.
You pull the grimoire from the shelf. It's heavy, bound in leather that feels wrong under your fingers. Too smooth, too warm, almost like skin. You really don't want to think about what that leather might be made from. The book falls open to a marked page. Someone has been reading this recently. The page is titled Ritual of Binding, and the text below is in Latin, but there are handwritten notes in the margins in English. Performed 1873, successful. Do not reverse. A binding ritual. Binding what? Or who? Before you can read further, you hear something. A voice. Faint, distant, but clear enough to make out words. Help me. It's coming from behind the bookshelf. You press your ear against the books and listen. The voice comes again, clearer this time. Please, help me. I'm trapped. Your rational mind says this is a trick, an audio recording, some elaborate haunted house setup. But your rational mind isn't in charge anymore. Your hands are already moving, pulling books off the shelf, looking for a mechanism, a hidden door. You find it. A leather-bound volume titled Family Secrets that doesn't pull out, it tilts. A lever. The entire bookshelf swings inward with a groan, revealing a hidden passage. The passage is narrow, barely wide enough for your shoulders. The walls are stone, damp, and cold. Your flashlight illuminates maybe 6 feet ahead. Beyond that is absolute darkness. The voice calls again. Hurry, please. You step into the passage. The bookshelf swings shut behind you with a definitive boom. You're trapped in the walls now, in the secret spaces of Blackwood Manor, the places the family used for things they didn't want anyone to see. The passage. The hidden corridor twists and turns, leading you deeper into the mansion's guts. Your flashlight flickers once, twice. You smack it, and it stabilizes, but the message is clear. You don't have much time before you're in complete darkness. The walls here are different. They are covered in something. You touch the surface and your hand comes away sticky. When you shine your light on your fingers, they're stained red. Not fresh blood, too dark for that, dried, old, but definitely blood. The walls are covered in handprints, hundreds of them, layered over each other, creating a grotesque wallpaper of desperation, all the hands reaching in the same direction, deeper into the passage. You follow them because you don't know what else to do. Going back means finding that lever again in the dark. Going forward means following blood and horror, but at least it's movement, at least it's something. The passage opens into a small chamber, a secret room maybe 8 feet by 8 feet. There's furniture in here. A small bed, a wooden chair, a chamber pot, and chains. Iron chains bolted to the wall. Someone lived here. Someone was kept here. On the wall above the bed, scratched into the stone with something sharp, are words. My name is Margaret Blackwood. I was 16 years old. They said I was mad. They locked me here. I died here. I am still here. Your light catches something in the corner. A dress. Rotted and moth-eaten, but you can still see it was once beautiful. White lace. A girl's dress. The dress moves. Not wind. There's no wind down here. It moves like someone just stood up from sitting. Like someone wearing it just took a step forward. You back up fast, smacking into the wall behind you. Your flashlight falls and goes out, plunging you into absolute darkness. In the darkness, you hear breathing. Not your own. Someone else's. Shallow, rapid, panicked. Then a voice right next to your ear. Why did you come here? Why did you open the door? You scream and bolt, hands outstretched in the blackness, finding the passage entrance by sheer luck. You run blind, following the rough stone wall, not caring where it leads as long as it's away. You burst through another bookshelf entrance and tumble into a different room. Not the library, somewhere else. You're on the second floor now. You don't know how. The passage must have angled upward, but you're definitely higher. You can tell by the way the windows look down on the grounds below. Your flashlight is gone. Your phone is at 12% battery. You turn on its flashlight and instantly regret it when you see where you are.
Chapter 3. The Second Floor. The Nursery. You're in a child's room, a nursery based on the crib in the corner and the toys scattered across the floor. But it's all wrong. Everything is decay and rot. The wallpaper, once probably cheerful, is peeling in long strips. You can see the pattern underneath, teddy bears and balloons, but they've been defaced. Someone took a marker, or maybe something darker, and drew X's over every teddy bear's eyes, drew stitches over their mouths. The crib is occupied. Not by a baby, by a doll. Life-size, sitting upright, head tilted at an angle that no living thing's head should tilt. Its eyes are glass, reflecting your phone's light in a way that makes them look alive, aware. You should leave. Every instinct is screaming at you to get out of this room, but you're frozen, staring at that doll, watching to see if it moves. It doesn't move. Until you blink. The doll is in a different position. Its head is now facing you directly. You didn't see it turn. It was just there, looking at you. You back toward the door, not taking your eyes off the doll. Your hand finds the doorknob. You turn it. The door doesn't open. You rattle it, panic rising. Locked! From the outside, which is impossible because this is an interior door and you just came through it. You turn back to the doll. It's not in the crib anymore. It's standing on the floor, 3 feet away from you. You didn't hear it move, didn't see it climb out. It's just there, standing, staring, its porcelain face frozen in a smile that suddenly looks more like a snarl. "Do you want to play?" The voice doesn't come from the doll. It comes from everywhere, a child's voice, sing-song and terrible. "Nobody plays with me anymore. Nobody comes to visit." Your voice cracks. "I don't want to play." "Liar. Everyone lies. Mama lied. She said she'd come back. Papa lied. He said I was special. They all lied." The doll moves, not walking, sliding, gliding across the floor toward you impossibly fast. You throw yourself sideways, crashing into a toy chest. The lid flies open and toys spill out. Wooden locks, a music box, a jump rope, old photographs. The photographs catch your eye. They show a family, mother, father, and a little girl, maybe 5 years old. She's blonde, wearing a white dress, holding the same doll that's currently trying to kill you. You flip the photo over. Written on the back in faded ink, Elizabeth Blackwood, born 1869, died 1874. The little girl in the photo is smiling, but someone has scratched out her eyes with something sharp. "That's me." The voice is right behind you. "That's what I was before they put me in the ground, before I came back." You spin around. The doll is inches away, face tilted up to look at you, and beyond the doll, reflected in the room's mirror, you see something that stops your heart. A little girl, translucent, flickering like a candle flame. Her blonde hair hangs in limp strands, her white dress is stained with dirt, and her eyes, where her eyes should be, are just empty black holes. You shouldn't have come here. This is our house. The living art welcome. The door behind you suddenly swings open. You don't question it. You run. The second floor hallway stretches in both directions, lined with doors. Dozens of doors. More than should fit in a house this size, and they're all slightly open, darkness leaking out from the gaps like smoke. You hear things behind those doors, whispers, crying, laughter that sounds like screaming, all the sounds of suffering compressed and replayed on an endless loop. Your phone battery is at 4%. You need to find a way out, now. You run down the hallway, trying doors at random. Most are locked. The ones that open reveal rooms you wish stayed closed. One room is filled with mirrors, hundreds of them covering every surface, and in every mirror you see yourself, but different, older in some, younger in others, dead in a few, with wounds you don't have yet but somehow recognize. Another room is a bathroom. The bathtub is full of dark water that seems to move on its own, rippling without wind as you watch a hand breaks the surface, pale, bloated, reaching. You slam that door and keep moving. A bedroom. The bed is made, pristine, like someone's been expecting guests. On the nightstand is a glass of water and 2 pills, and a note in perfect cursive. "Take these. They'll help you sleep. You'll never wake up. Isn't that better?" You are starting to understand. Every room is a trap. Every door is a choice between different kinds of death. The mansion is playing with you, offering you exits that lead only to endings. At the end of the hallway is a different door, larger than the others, made of dark wood with brass fixtures. It's the only door that's fully closed, and there's light coming from underneath it. Warm, orange light, like firelight. You can hear something behind this door too, but not whispers or screams. Music. Piano music. Beautiful and melancholic. Someone playing Chopin. The door isn't locked. It opens at your touch, revealing a master bedroom. The master bedroom. This room is pristine. Unlike everything else in the house, this space has been maintained. The 4-poster bed is made with fresh linens. The fireplace is lit, casting dancing shadows across ornate furniture. And at the piano in the corner, playing that haunting melody, sits a man. He's dressed in Victorian clothes, waistcoat, cravat, dark jacket. His hair is perfectly styled. His hands move across the keys with practice ease. He looks completely solid, completely real, until he turns to look at you and you see that his throat has been cut. The wound is gaping, still fresh looking, blood staining his collar. But he's smiling. "Welcome," he says. His voice sounds like it's coming from very far away, like speaking through water. "We've been waiting." "We?" you ask. He gestures to the room. At first you see nothing. Then gradually they appear. Figures forming out of shadow and firelight. A woman in a blood-stained nightgown sitting at the vanity. 2 children standing by the window, holding hands. An older man in the corner, rope burns around his neck. All dead, all staring at you. "The Blackwood family," the man at the piano says. "What's left of us, what remains. We've been here so long, so very long, and we're terribly lonely." Your phone battery dies. The screen goes black.
Your only light now is the fireplace, and it's casting more shadows than illumination. You seem frightened, the man continues, standing from the piano. The wound in his throat opens wider as he moves, blood running down his chest, but never dripping. There's no need. We only want company. Stay with us. Be part of the family. The other figures move closer. The woman rises from the vanity, her eyes hollow sockets. The children step away from the window, their small hands reaching out. The hanged man takes a step forward, head tilted at an unnatural angle. Stay, 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 they all say in unison. You back toward the door. Your hand finds the knob, but before you can turn it, a hand closes over yours, ice cold. You look down and see a woman standing beside you. She wasn't there a second ago. She's beautiful in a terrible way, wearing a wedding dress stained with something dark. Her face is pale, almost translucent, and when she smiles, you see that her teeth are filed to points. "He killed us," she whispers. "My husband, he killed us all. And now we can't leave. We're bound here, trapped. Unless you can barely speak. Unless someone takes our place." Her grip tightens on your hand. "Stay, die here. Let your soul feed the house. Then we can finally rest." This is it. This is the choice. Stay and die, or fight and maybe die anyway, but at least die trying. You make your choice. You headbutt her. The ghost shrieks and dissipates like smoke. You yank the door open and run, the sound of their screaming following you into the hallway. Chapter 4. The third floor. The attic stairs. You find the stairs to the third floor at the end of another hallway. They're narrow and steep, disappearing into darkness above. This is it, the attic, the highest point in the mansion. Maybe from up there you can find a way to signal for help, break through a window, something. The stairs creak under your weight. Each step sounds like a gunshot in the silence. You climb in complete darkness, hands outstretched to feel your way, counting steps to keep your mind focused on something else other than the terror. 20 steps. 30. How tall is this damn house? At step 47, you reach a landing. There's a door here, but it's different from the others. This one is covered in symbols, carved in the wood, painted on, scratched deep into the grain. Protective symbols, if you're recognizing them right. Crosses, pentagrams, circles. The evil eye. Someone tried very hard to keep whatever's behind this door locked in, or locked out. The door is slightly ajar. The protective symbols didn't work. You push the door open and enter the attic.
The attic. It's massive, taking up the entire third floor. The ceiling slopes down on both sides, meeting at a central beam that runs the length of the space. Moonlight filters in through a round window at the far end, providing just enough light to see by. And what you see is a nightmare. The attic is filled with things. Furniture, yes, boxes and trunks and old clothes, but also other things. Things that shouldn't be here. Medical equipment, an operating table, surgical tools, and jars filled with specimens floating in yellowed liquid. A cage, large enough for a person. Chains hanging from the ceiling beams. This is where they did it. Whatever terrible things the Blackwood family did, they did them here. The walls are covered in writing, not carved this time, written in what looks like dried blood. The same phrase repeated over and over, covering every surface. The door must stay closed. The door must stay closed. The door must stay closed. What door? Then you see it. At the far end of the attic, behind the operating table and the hanging chains. Another door. small, almost like a closet. But this one is different from all the others. This door is metal, heavy industrial metal like a bank vault, and it's covered in even more protective symbols, layers upon layers of them. Someone spent years reinforcing this door, trying to keep it sealed, and it's open. Just a crack, but definitely open. Something is coming through that crack. Not physical, you can't see it, but you can feel it. A pressure, a wrongness, like reality itself is distorted around that door, bending inward, being pulled through the gap. Your head starts to hurt, a sharp pain behind your eyes. You taste copper, your nose is bleeding, the temperature drops to freezing. Your breath comes out in thick clouds, ice forms on the metal surfaces around you, spreading in fractal patterns. And then you hear it, a sound from behind that metal door. Not a voice, not exactly, more like breathing, but huge, vast. The breathing of something so large that each exhale shakes the building's foundations. Whatever the Blackwood family was trying to contain, it's awake now, and it knows you're here. The door swings wider, not all the way, just wider. The crack increases from 2 inches to 6. And through that 6-inch gap, something looks at you. You can't see it. Your eyes refuse to focus on it, but you know it's there. You can feel its tension, heavy as a physical weight. It's studying you, evaluating, deciding whether you're worth the effort of coming all the way through. Your survival instinct finally kicks in. You run. You don't make it to the attic door before the temperature drops another 50 degrees. The moisture in the air crystallizes instantly. Ice covers every surface. Your feet slip and you go down hard, sliding across the frozen floor. Behind you, the metal door opens wider. 10 inches now, 12. And you can hear it moving, not walking. Something else. Something that doesn't move the way living things move. It sounds like grinding stone, like breaking glass, like screaming metal, all combined into one impossible noise. You scramble to your feet and lunge for the attic exit, getting through and slamming the door behind you. You look around desperately for something to block it with, to buy yourself seconds. There's nothing. Just the narrow stairwell leading down. The door behind you bulges. Something is pressing against it from the other side. The wood cracks, splinters. One of the protective symbols carved into the door begins to glow with a faint red light, and then goes dark, like a bulb burning out. The protections are failing. Whatever's behind that metal door is coming through. You run down the stairs, taking them 3 at a time, not caring if you fall. You can hear the attic door explode behind you, wood and metal torn apart like paper. And then you hear it following you down the stairs. The descent. You burst back out onto the second floor into that endless hallway with its dozens of doors. Behind you, the thing from the attic is descending. You can hear it on the stairs. You can feel its presence like a pressure weight pushing you forward. The doors along the hallway begin to open, all of them simultaneously, and the dead come out. The Blackwood family, all of them pouring into the hallway. The man with the cut throat, the woman with the hollow eyes, the children with their reaching hands, Margaret from the hidden room, Elizabeth the child, dozens of others you haven't met. All the victims. All the ghosts. But they're not coming for you. They're forming a wall, blocking the hallway, facing the stairs where the thing is coming down. Run, the man with the cutthroat says. It's not you we're angry at. It's what they summoned, what they couldn't put back. Run while we hold it. You don't need to be told twice. You sprint down the hallway, as behind you, the ghosts of Blackwood Manor make their stand against whatever darkness their family unleashed. The sound is indescribable, screaming and tearing, and that grinding glass metal noise all mixed together. The walls shake, pictures fall from their hooks, the floor tilts. You make it to the main staircase and descend to the first floor. The foyer, where this all started. The front door is still there, still closed. You hit it at full speed, shoulder first. It doesn't budge. You try the handle. Locked. Behind you, the battle is getting closer. The ghosts are losing. You can hear them screaming as whatever it is tears through them. You need another way out. Now. The windows are boarded. The doors are locked, but there has to be something. Has to be. Your eyes fall on the grandfather clock, the one that chimed when you first arrived. There's something about it, something that felt important. You run to it and yank open the face. Behind the clock hands is nothing, just empty space. But wait, there's a lever hidden in the mechanism. You pull it. The floor beneath the clock drops away, revealing stairs, a basement entrance, hidden, secret. You can hear the thing reaching the first floor, can feel it getting closer. No time to think. You descend into the basement, pulling the clock face shut above you. Chapter 5. The Basement. The Descent into Darkness. The basement stairs are stone, wet with moisture and moss. You descend in absolute darkness, hands on the walls to guide you. The air down here is different, older, like breathing in centuries of decay. At the bottom, you find yourself in a stone corridor, the foundation of the house. This was here before the mansion was built. This is old, really old. Your eyes adjust slightly, and you realize there's a faint light source ahead. Not electric, not fire, something else. A greenish phosphorescence, like fungi or deep-sea creatures. You follow it because there's nowhere else to go. The corridor branches, splits, becomes a maze. The Blackwood family built this, expanded natural caves into a network beneath their home. Why? You find the answer in the first chamber you enter. The ritual room. It's a temple, or what's left of one. The walls are carved with symbols you don't recognize. Pre-Christian, probably. Ancient. At the center of the altar is a stone altar, stained black with centuries of... You don't want to think about what. Around the altar, drawn on the floor in what looks like silver, is a massive circle. More symbols inside it. This is the binding circle. This is where they performed the ritual mentioned in the grimoire upstairs. And standing at the edge of the circle, looking at the altar, is a woman. She's solid, real, not translucent like the ghosts upstairs. She turns when she hears you, and you see her face, young, maybe late 20s, dressed in modern clothes, jeans, a t-shirt, hiking boots. "Oh, thank God," she says. "Another person. I've been down here for, I don't know, hours, days? I can't find a way out." She smiles. It's a friendly smile, a relieved smile, the smile of someone who thought they were going to die alone and is grateful for company. But she's standing inside the binding circle. She hasn't crossed the silver line. Because she can't. "You're not real," you say quietly. "You're one of them." Her smile doesn't waver, just a little. "Of course I'm real. Look at me. I'm solid, I'm here, I'm alive." Then cross the circle. Her smile fades, just a little. "Why would I need to cross the circle?" "Because you can't. Because you're bound. This is your prison." For a long moment, she just stares at you. Then her face changes. The features shift, sliding from human to something else. Something that might have been human once, but stopped being human a very long time ago. It says, "Clever." The voice is different, too. Multiple voices speaking at once, layered like bad audio.
"What are you?" "I am what the Blackwoods summoned. What they bound but couldn't banish. I've been trapped here since 1873, fed on the family's suffering, grown strong on their deaths. And now, finally, someone's broken the seals. The metal door in the attic. You opened it, didn't you? It was already open, by inches. But inches are enough. The binding is breaking. Soon I'll be free. And when I am, this house will just be the beginning. I'll spread like plague, like fire. I'll consume everything.
You back away from the circle. The entity doesn't follow. It can't. Not yet.
But you could help me. Break the circle. Scratch just one line through the silver. That's all it would take. And I'll let you leave. I'll even give you power, knowledge, anything you want. Why would I do that? Because staying means dying. The house is falling apart. The physical structure is collapsing as the bindings fail. You'll be buried down here, crushed, lost forever. But help me, and I'll save you.
It's lying. You're almost certain it's lying. But the part about the house collapsing, you can hear it. Distant rumbling, stone grinding against stone, dust falling from the ceiling. There has to be another way out, you say.
There isn't. This is it. This is your only choice. Free me or die here.
You look around the chamber desperately. There has to be something, some other option. Your eyes fall on the altar, on the symbols carved into the stone. And you remember something. The grimoire upstairs. The note in the margin. Performed 1873. Successful. Do not reverse. Don't reverse the binding. But what if you could strengthen it? I need to think, you say, buying time. The entity laughs. It sounds like breaking glass. Think quickly. The ceiling won't wait for your philosophical crisis. You examine the circle more closely. The silver lines are old, tarnished in places. Some of the symbols have been damaged, scratched, worn away by time. The binding is weakening naturally. That's why the entity is getting stronger. That's why the house is falling apart. If you could repair the circle, reinforce the symbols, maybe you could strengthen the binding, at least temporarily, long enough to find another way out. But you'd need silver. Fresh silver to redraw the damaged portions. Your eyes fall on your watch. Silver band. It's not much, but it might be enough for the worst gaps. The entity sees what you're looking at. Don't, it says. Its voice is sharp now, threatening. Don't you dare. You unbuckle your watch. The entity begins to thrash against the invisible barrier, screaming in a dozen voices. The temperature drops. The walls crack. But it can't cross the line. You kneel at the edge of the circle and begin scraping the silver band against the stone, creating powder. You mix it with moisture from the wall, creating a makeshift paint. It's crude, but it might work. You start repairing the most damaged symbols, following the patterns as best as you can remember from the grimoire. The entity is shrieking now, a sound that makes your ears bleed. The entire chamber shakes. "You don't understand," it screams. "I'm not the only thing down here. There are others, worse things, things the Blackwoods locked away. If you trap me, they'll find you." You keep working. 2 symbols repaired, 3, 4. The entity's form begins to solidify, to shrink. It's being compressed back into its prison. Please, it begs now,
voice almost human. "Please don't. I'll do anything. I'll tell you how to escape. There is a way through the catacombs, but you need me to show you. Break the circle and I'll guide you." You complete the final symbol. The circle flares with light, brilliant silver, blinding. The entity screams one last time and then implodes, compressed down to a point of absolute darkness at the center of the circle. The darkness folds in on itself and disappears. The chamber goes silent. You did it. The entity is bound again, trapped. But you're still stuck down here, and the house is still collapsing. You run to the east wall and search for the hidden door. Your hands find it, a section that's slightly different temperature. You push, and it swings inward, revealing a tunnel.
The catacombs. The tunnel is natural, carved by water over millennia. The walls are wet, covered in that same phosphorescent moss. You can hear running water ahead, the underground river the entity mentioned. You crawl through the tunnel, ignoring the way it presses in on all sides, ignoring your screaming claustrophobia. Forward, just forward. The tunnel opens into a larger cavern. The river runs through it, fast and dark, and on the far side you can see it, a metal grate, old and rusted, the outside. Freedom. But between you and the grate is the river, and the river is deep. You can see how deep by the way the current moves, powerful and hungry. You'll have to swim for it. You wade in. The water is ice cold, so cold it feels like needles. The current immediately grabs you, pulling you downstream, away from the grate. You fight against it, swimming with everything you have. Your fingers touch metal, the grate. You grab it and hold on, pulling yourself against the current. The bars are spaced about 6 inches apart. You can fit. Barely. You squeeze through, feeling the rust scrape your skin, feeling one bar catch on your clothes and nearly trap you. But you make it through. You're on the other side. The tunnel continues beyond the grate, sloping upward. You follow it, crawling when it's too low to walk, climbing when it's too steep to crawl. And then you see it. Light. Real light. Moonlight. You emerge from a drainage pipe at the bottom of the hill, 100 yards from Blackwood Manor. You collapse on the grass, gasping, bleeding, exhausted. Behind you, the mansion stands against the night sky. As you watch, something happens. The windows begin to glow with that same sickly green light. All of them, simultaneously. And then, with a sound like the world ending, the entire structure collapses, not falling, imploding, folding in on itself like a house of cards, pulling down and down into the earth. In 30 seconds, it's gone. Where Blackwood Manor stood is now just a crater, a wound in the earth, filled with rubble and dust. You lie there and watch it disappear, too tired to feel relief, too numb to feel anything. You survived. Against everything. Against all odds, you survived. Chapter 6. The Aftermath. The morning after. You don't remember walking back to town. Don't remember how you ended up at the police station, covered in blood and dust, babbling about ghosts and entities and collapsing mansions. They send someone to check. The officer comes back pale, silent, confirms that yes, Blackwood Manor is gone. Just a crater where it used to be. Structural collapse, probably. Old building, bad foundation. These things happen. You try to tell them about the family, about the entity, about what you saw.
They nod politely and call a doctor. The doctor gives you something to help you sleep. You sleep for 16 hours. When you wake, you're in a hospital bed. There's a woman sitting in a chair next to you. Detective based on the badge. She's reviewing a file. "Feeling better?" she asks. Yeah, I think so." "Good, because I need to ask you some questions. You were found outside what used to be Blackwood Manor. You were the only person who went up there last night, according to the gas station attendant. What happened?" You tell her all of it. The ghosts, the entity, the binding circle, everything. She listens without interrupting, her expression carefully neutral. When you finish, there's a long silence. "That's quite a story," she says finally. "It's the truth. Maybe it is. Maybe you experienced something up there. But here's what I know. Blackwood Manor has a history. A bad history. 11 people have died on that property in the last 150 years. Suicides, accidents, one murder-suicide. The Blackwood family was troubled, involved in things they shouldn't have been. Occult things. Yes, occult things. The town tried to have the place condemned multiple times, but there were always legal complications. The property trusts, inheritance disputes, paperwork that vanished or got filed incorrectly. Almost like the house wanted to stay standing."
It did, you say. The entity was using it, feeding on the suffering there. The detective closes her file. Well, it's gone now, completely destroyed. The county is going to fill in the crater and sell the land. Maybe someone will build something normal there. A park. A parking lot. Something with less history. And me? You're free to go. No laws against trespassing on a property that doesn't exist anymore. But do me a favor. Stay away from haunted houses. You're terrible at it. The recovery. You spend the next 3 days in town, recovering. Your body heals faster than your mind. The cuts and bruises fade. The exhaustion lifts. But the memories don't fade. Every time you close your eyes, you see them, the ghosts. Margaret in her chains. Elizabeth with her empty eyes. The man with the cut throat. All of them trapped in that house for decades, centuries, some of them. And you freed them. By strengthening the binding on the entity, you broke its hold on the house. The structure collapsed, but the souls were released. You have to believe that. Have to believe they're finally at rest. On the 4th day in town, you visit the local library. You need to know, need to understand what you survived. The librarian is an old woman who remembers when Blackwood Manor was still occupied. She brings you boxes of records, newspaper clippings, old photographs. You read about the Blackwood family, about Harrison Blackwood, who built the manor in 1847 after traveling extensively in Europe and Asia studying ancient philosophies. About his son, Edmund, who expanded the house and allegedly performed experiments in the attic. About the string of mysterious deaths, servants who fell from windows, family members who went mad, children who vanished. And you find the article about Margaret. Margaret Blackwood, declared insane at age 15 and committed to the house's care. She died a year later, officially pneumonia. But the article hints at other circumstances: starvation, neglect, abuse. Elizabeth Blackwood, aged 5, who drowned in the pond behind the house. Her body was found 3 days later. The article mentions her doll was found beside her, as if it had been keeping watch. The massacre of 1901. Harrison Blackwood III killed his wife, 2 children, and himself. Cut his own throat with a straight razor after killing the others.
The article describes it as a tragedy born of madness. But you know better. The entity was already there, already feeding, already influencing. You find one more document. A journal entry from a visiting scholar in 1873, recording a fascinating ritual he witnessed at Blackwood Manor. He describes the binding circle, the chanting, the moment when something vast and terrible was pulled into our reality and trapped. The journal entry ends with a warning. They have bound it, but they cannot control it. It will corrupt them. It will consume them. Someone should destroy that house before it spreads. No one did. For 150 years, no one did. Until you. The aftermath. You leave town on the 5th day. Drive away without looking back. But you can't leave the experience behind. It follows you. The nightmares come every night for weeks. You wake up gasping, convinced you're back in that hallway, back in that basement, back in that circle with the entity staring at you. You start researching, obsessively, learning everything you can about hauntings, possessions, bindings. You join online forums, read academic papers, connect with other people who've survived similar experiences. And you learn that you're not alone. There are others. Survivors of haunted places, of entities and spirits and things that shouldn't exist. You share your story. They share theirs. A community forms. Someone suggests you write it down, all of it. Not for yourself, but for others. As a warning, as a guide. So that the next person who gets that invitation, who takes that bet, who decides to explore that abandoned house, has some idea of what they're getting into. So you write it. Every detail, every moment of terror, every choice you made. You publish it online, expecting maybe a few hundred views. It goes viral. Suddenly you're getting messages, hundreds of them. People asking questions, sharing their own experiences, thanking you for telling your story. Some call you a fraud. Others call you a hero. You're neither. You're just someone who survived, who got lucky, and got out.
But the messages keep coming, and eventually one catches your attention. It's from a woman in Maine. She's inherited a property, an old house, and strange things are happening. She needs help. You stare at the message for a long time. You swore you'd never do this again, never go near another haunted location. You barely survived Blackwood Manor. But she needs help, and you understand something now that you didn't before. These places exist, these entities exist, and someone has to stand against them. You message her back. Chapter 7. The Return to Darkness. 6 months later. You've investigated 4 houses since Blackwood Manor, helped 3 families, lost 1, got there too late, found the father hanging in the garage. Suicide note blaming the voices. You're good at this now. You know the signs. The temperature drops, the feeling of being watched, the way old houses hold on to suffering like a battery holds a charge. But you're tired. This work takes something from you. Every spirit you encounter, every entity you face, it chips away at something fundamental. You're starting to understand why the old exorcists often looked ancient, worn down by the weight of what they'd seen. You're in Maine now. The house belonging to the woman who contacted you, Susan. It's not as bad as Blackwood Manor. Nothing is as bad as Blackwood Manor. But it's bad enough. Victorian, like Blackwood. These old families loved their Gothic architecture. 3 stories, isolated property, history of tragedy. A murder in the 1920s, a child who disappeared in the 60s, the usual pattern. Susan meets you at the door.
She looks exhausted, dark circles under her eyes. She thanks you for coming. She didn't know who else to call. The local priest tried blessing the house, but it only made things worse. It usually does. Blessings only work if the entity respects the authority behind them. Most don't. You do your survey. Check the cold spots, the areas where the air feels thick. You find the center of activity in the basement. Of course, it's the basement. This one has a well. Old, dry, covered with boards. But something lives down there. You can feel it. Old, angry, hungry. You've dealt with worse. You have your tools now. Salt, iron, silver needles, a grimoire you purchased from a very questionable dealer in New Orleans. You know what you're doing. You perform the binding. It takes 3 hours, but it works. The entity goes quiet. The house breathes easier. Susan cries with relief. Is it gone? She asks. No, I tell her honestly. It's bound, contained, but it's still there. It will always be there. You need to maintain the binding. I'll teach you how. You spend 2 days teaching her the rituals, the protections. Then you leave. Another job done, another family saved, another piece of yourself left behind. The cost. You're driving back to your motel when your phone rings. Unknown number. You almost don't answer. Hello. You're the Blackwood survivor? It's not a question. Male voice. Educated. Careful. Who is this? Someone who's been watching your work? You've developed quite a reputation. 4 successful bindings in 6 months. That's impressive. What do you want? To offer you a job. There's a property in upstate New York, the Kellerman Estate. It's been abandoned for 30 years. The owners want it cleared before they sell. They're willing to pay substantially. I'm not for hire. Everyone's for hire. The question's just the price. They're offering $50,000. You nearly drive off the road. $50,000. That's more money than you've seen in your life. What's the catch? The Kellerman Estate makes Blackwood Manor look like a Holiday Inn. 3 families have tried to live there since it was built in 1892. All 3 left within a month. 2 committed suicide within a year. The 3rd family simply vanished. All 4 of them never found. Then why would anyone want to buy it? Location. The property sits on prime real estate. Clear the house of its residents, and the land alone is worth millions. The current owners are willing to spend $50,000 to make that happen. I need to think about it. Take your time, but not too much. They're going to hire someone eventually. Might as well be someone competent. He hangs up. You sit in your car outside the motel, engine idling, staring at nothing. $50,000. That's enough to stop doing this. Enough to retire from ghost hunting and go back to a normal life, whatever that means anymore.
But you know what it means. It means one more house, one more basement, one more entity trying to kill you. You think about the ghosts of Blackwood Manor, about how they helped you in the end, about how they'd been trapped for so long, suffering, waiting for someone to free them. If there are spirits trapped in the Kellerman Estate, they deserve the same chance. You call him back. I'll do it. The Kellerman Estate. The estate is worse than you imagined.
Not worse than Blackwood. Nothing is worse than Blackwood, but close. It's massive. 40 rooms, they told you. You count 53. Space is wrong here. The house is bigger on the inside than outside. That's bad. That means the house has been rewriting its own geometry. That means whatever's inside has been here a very long time. You spend the first day just mapping it out, understanding the layout, finding the center. Every haunted house has a center, a point where the energy is strongest, where the entity, if there is one, makes its home. You find it in the wine cellar, not the main cellar, the sub-basement, the place that's not on any of the blueprints, the place you have to access through a hidden door behind a wine rack. The sub-basement is older than the house, much older. Native American, maybe, or earlier. The walls are carved stone, covered in symbols you don't recognize. And at the center is a pit. Deep. Dark. Something moves down there. You can hear it breathing. This is bigger than you thought. Bigger than you can handle alone. You call the others, the survivors, the people you've been corresponding with online. Former victims of hauntings who've learned to fight back. You need help. 3 of them come. Michael, who survived a haunting in Seattle. Rachel, who grew up in a possessed house in Texas. James, who lost his sister to an entity and has spent 10 years hunting them. Together, you descend into the sub-basement. Together, you face what's in the pit. It takes all 4 of you to bind it. It's strong, stronger than the entity at Blackwood, older, more primal. At one point, Rachel goes down, possessed, speaking in a language that predates language. Michael pulls her back, performs the counter-ritual you taught him. James nearly dies. The entity grabs him and starts pulling him toward the pit. You grab his arm and hold on, anchoring him to the physical world while Rachel completes the binding circle. But you do it. All 4 of you, working together, manage to contain it, trap it, seal it back in the pit where it's been sleeping for centuries. The house exhales. The geometry snaps back to normal. The 53 rooms become 40. The temperature rises to something approaching normal. You've done it. The payment. The owners pay $50,000 split 4 ways. It's not as much as you'd hoped, but it's enough. Enough to rest. Enough to stop. But you don't stop. Because there are more houses, more families, more entities. And now you have a team. People who understand, people who've been through it. You form something official. Not a company exactly, more like a collective. Survivors helping survivors. People who faced the darkness and learned how to fight back. Word spreads. The requests come in. Some you take. Some you refer to others. Some you turn down because they're too dangerous, too far gone. You become what you never wanted to be. An expert. A professional. Someone who walks into haunted houses and walks back out. Most of the time. The one that got away. 2 years after Blackwood Manor, you get a call about a house in Louisiana. Old plantation house. Brutal history. Slavery. Murder. Torture. The works. You go with Rachel and Michael
James is recovering from injuries sustained in a fight with a poltergeist in Ohio. The Louisiana house is bad. Worse than Blackwood. Worse than Kellerman. You've never felt anything like this. The suffering soaked into the walls is so thick, you can taste it. Decades of it. Centuries. You try to bind it, try to contain it, but it's too strong. It's been feeding too long. It's too entangled with the physical structure of the house. Rachel realizes it first. We can't bind it. It's too powerful. We have to destroy the house.
That's not what we do, you argue. We save places. We help them heal. This place can't heal. It's rotten all the way through. Burning it is mercy. You're outvoted. Michael agrees with Rachel. The house has to burn. You set the fires. All three of you, working quickly, setting charges in the foundation, the support beams. You use accelerant. Make sure it will burn hot and fast. As you're leaving, you hear them. The voices. All the people who suffered here. All the slaves who died in chains, who were tortured, who were murdered. They're singing. Not screaming. Singing. Freedom songs. The house burns through the night. By morning, there's nothing left but ash and the smell of smoke. The entity, whatever it was, is gone. Released. The souls trapped there are free. But you're haunted by it. By the choice you made. By the realization that sometimes the only way to heal a wound is to burn it clean. Chapter 8. The Legacy. 5 years later. You're teaching now. Workshops for people who've experienced hauntings. How to protect yourself. How to identify different types of entities. How to perform basic bindings. You wrote a book. It's not a bestseller, but it sells steadily. People who need it find it. That's enough. You still take cases, but selectively now. The worst ones. The ones where families are in immediate danger. You have younger investigators you're training. They handle the simpler stuff. Michael runs the West Coast operations. Rachel handles the South. James, recovered from his injuries, oversees the Midwest. You coordinate from a small office in Vermont, far from any major cities, far from most hauntings. But Blackwood Manor still haunts you. Literally. You dream about it sometimes. About the foyer, the portraits, the secret passages. About Margaret and Elizabeth. About the entity in the binding circle. And sometimes, when you're very tired, you see them. The ghosts. Not threatening, just watching. Making sure you're okay. Making sure you haven't forgotten. You haven't forgotten. You never will. The question. People always ask you the same thing. Do you believe in ghosts now? The answer is complicated. You believe in suffering. You believe that trauma can soak into places like water into wood. You believe that some deaths are so violent, so wrong, that they leave echoes. Whether those echoes are literal spirits, consciousness surviving death, or just recordings, impressions left in reality itself, you don't know. What you do know is that the phenomenon is real. People experience these things. Families are torn apart by them. Houses become prisons for the living and the dead. And you know how to help. That's enough. The warning. When people approach you interested in investigating haunted locations themselves, you always tell them the same thing. Don't. Don't go looking for ghosts. Don't seek out haunted houses. Don't think you can control these things or that your skepticism will protect you. If you must go, if you inherit a property, if you're trapped in a situation you can't avoid, go prepared. Bring salt, bring iron. Don't go alone. Don't engage with the entities. Don't make deals. And if you feel like you're in over your head, if the house starts changing around you, if you see things that shouldn't exist, run.
Don't be a hero. Don't try to fight it alone. Survival is not cowardice. Survival is the goal. You learned that at Blackwood Manor. You survived not by being brave, but by being smart, by using the tools available, by accepting help from unexpected sources. The ghosts saved you. Remember that. The victims of the house, the ones who had suffered the most, they chose to help you instead of dragging you down with them. Not all spirits are malevolent. Some are just lost. Some are waiting for someone to acknowledge them, to see them, to remember that they were real. Be kind to the dead. They were people once. They had lives, dreams, fears. They deserve respect. But also be careful, because some things that wear the faces of the dead were never human at all. The truth about Blackwood Manor. 6 years after the mansion collapsed, you returned to the site. It's a park now, like the detective said. Playground equipment, benches, walking trails. The crater was filled in and grass was planted. You'd never know a house stood here. But you know, you can feel it, the echo of all that suffering. It's fainter now, fading, but still there. You walk to where the front door used to be and stand there for a moment, remembering. Thank you, you say quietly, for helping me, for saving me. The wind picks up, just for a moment, carrying with it the smell of jasmine, the flowers that used to grow in the Blackwood garden, a scent that shouldn't be here anymore, a response, an acknowledgement. They're at rest now, finally. The souls that were trapped for so long have moved on. The entity is bound forever, sealed beneath tons of rubble and earth. Blackwood Manor is gone, but its lesson remains. The lesson. What did Blackwood Manor teach you? It taught you that the world is stranger and darker than most people know, that there are thin places where the barrier between life and death grows weak, that suffering has weight and gravity. It taught you that courage isn't the absence of fear, it's continuing to move forward despite the fear, making choices when every option looks like death. It taught you that help can come from unexpected places, that the dead are not always your enemies, that sometimes the real monsters are the living, the people who created the suffering in the first place. And it taught you that survival is its own form of victory. You don't have to win every battle. You don't have to defeat every enemy. Sometimes you just have to outlast them. Sometimes you just have to make it to morning. You carry those lessons with you into every investigation. Share them with every person you train. Write them in every book, every article, every warning. Because haunted houses are still out there. The entities are still waiting. And people are still making the mistake of walking through those doors. But maybe, with enough warnings, with enough knowledge, fewer of them will die. Maybe you can save some of them, the way the ghosts of Blackwood Manor saved you. The truth. Here's what they don't tell you about surviving a haunting. It doesn't end when you escape the house. You carry it with you. In your dreams, in your reactions to sudden noises, in the way you can't sleep with the closet door open anymore, in the way you check every mirror to make sure your reflection is doing what it's supposed to. You're changed, fundamentally. The person who walked into Blackwood Manor died in that house. Someone else walked out. Someone harder, more aware, less innocent. You see things differently now. That abandoned building on the corner, you know it's not empty. That old cemetery, you know some of the residents haven't moved on. That feeling you get in certain rooms, certain houses, you trust it now. You don't rationalize it away. The world is haunted. Not everywhere, not all the time, but in more places than most people realize. And once you know that, once you've seen it, you can't unknow it. You're part of a smaller world now. The world of people who've seen behind the curtain, who know what's really out there. It's lonely sometimes. Most people can't relate, don't want to hear about it. But you find your tribe, other survivors, other investigators. People who understand what it's like to look into the face of something that shouldn't exist and live to talk about it. And you do talk about it. You share your stories. Not to scare people, though it does that, but to prepare them, to give them tools, to maybe save someone's life. Because that's the other thing surviving a haunting teaches you. You have a responsibility now to help others, to use what you learned, to make sure your suffering means something. So here's my invitation to you, watching this video, reading this story. Don't go to Blackwood Manor. It's gone, destroyed. The entity is bound, the souls are free. But there are other houses, other manors, other places where the past has soaked into the walls and refuses to let go. If you find yourself in one, if you inherit property with a dark history, if you're exploring and find something you shouldn't, if you're trapped in a place that wants you dead, remember what you've learned here. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it is wrong. Don't rationalize. Don't convince yourself you're being silly. Get out. If you can't get out, find the center. Every haunted location has a heart, a place where the energy is strongest. That's where you'll find answers. That's where you'll make your stand. Use protection. Salt, iron, silver. These things matter. Old magic still works, not because of mysticism, but because of belief, because of centuries of human conviction giving these materials power. Don't go alone, ever. Isolation is what these entities won't. They separate you for help, from witnesses, from people who can anchor you to reality. Stay connected.
And remember, you can survive. I did. Dozens of others have. Hundreds, probably. The houses want you to think you're trapped, that there's no escape. But there is. Always. You just have to find it. Be smart. Be careful. Be brave when you have to be, and run when you can. And if you do survive, if you make it out, tell your story. Warn others. Help the next person who finds themselves standing at the gate of a manor that shouldn't be entered. We're all in this together. The survivors, the investigators, the ones who know. And we're here if you need us. Epilogue. The Door. 10 years after Blackwood Manor. You're older now. Grayer. More scars, but most of them are internal. You've investigated over 50 properties, helped dozens of families, lost count of how many entities you've bound, banished, or destroyed. You're tired, ready to retire, ready to hand the work over to the next generation of investigators you've trained. But then you get a call. There's a property in England, an abbey, built in the 12th century. The current owners say things are happening, things that match the Blackwood profile. I'm done, you say. Get someone else. Michael, Rachel, any of the others. They all recommended you specifically. Said if it's as bad as it sounds, they need the person who survived Blackwood. You close your eyes. Think about saying no. Think about finally walking away. But you can't. You know you can't. Because there might be people trapped there. Souls waiting for release. Families in danger. When do you need me? As soon as possible.
They're willing to pay travel expenses and a consulting fee. I don't care about the money. Send me the details, I'll look at it. You hang up and stare at the file when it arrives by email. The Abbey is beautiful in the photographs. Ancient stone, Gothic arches, stained glass windows. But you can see it. Even in photographs, you can see it. The wrongness, the shadow that shouldn't be there, the way the light bends incorrectly around certain doorways. This place is bad. Maybe as bad as Blackwood. Maybe worse. You book a flight? Because this is who you are now. This is what Blackwood Manor made you. Not a victim, not a survivor, something else. Something that stands between the living and the dead, between the world of light and the world of shadow. You are the person who walks through the door, the person who goes into the darkness so others don't have to. You are what happens when someone survives the unsurvivable and decides to use that survival to save others. You are the investigator, the binder, the one who remembers. And as long as there are haunted houses, as long as there are families in danger, as long as there are entities that need to be stopped, you'll keep doing this work. Because someone has to. Because you survived Blackwood Manor, and that means something. It means you have a job to do, and you're going to do it. So, that's the story of what happens when you're trapped in a haunted mansion. Not the Hollywood version, not the ghost tour version, the real version. The one where you might not make it out, where survival is measured in seconds and choices and knowing when to fight and when to run. Thanks for joining me on this journey into the darkness. If you survived this video, go ahead and subscribe to Sleepless Survivors. Leave a comment telling me about your own experiences with places that felt wrong, with houses that had histories, with moments when you knew, absolutely knew, that you weren't alone. And if you're ever standing at the gate of a place like Blackwood Manor, if you're ever considering walking through that door, remember what you learned here. Remember that survival is possible, but only if you're smart, only if you're prepared, only if you respect what you're walking into. The haunted houses are real. The entities are real. The danger is real. But so is your strength. So is your ability to survive. So is the possibility of escape. Stay smart, stay safe, and stay out of haunted houses. I'm your host, and I'll see you next time on Sleepless Survivors. Sleep well, if you can. And remember, if the house doesn't want you there,
Maybe listen to it.